we are bound forever. And if we don't deliver this plan and free humanity, we will be bound to the ninth circle of hell. I'm bound to this truth, and I will never stop delivering.
In that moment, it was visible that there was a reaction because he started crying. I mean, his emotions were evident. They were streaming down his face.
I've said it. I've already run my course. I already know my entire life purpose has been completed. I will continue on. But now, I realize I've won.
Alex Jones is part of a bigger phenomenon. What people like Alex Jones and others showed us is that conspiracy theories are an effective political tool. They work. They help shape elections. They help shape public discussion. They help people decide what to believe. Conspiracy theories work.
But with influence came a new level of scrutiny.
Please raise your right hand, sir. You do solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth.
I do.
Thank you.
Those parents from Sandy Hook had been pursuing him in court.
I simply had enough, and that was what needed to be done. I'm proud of bringing the lawsuit. Brought a lot more attention to who he really is and what his show represents.
Can you now admit that you've done an outrageous wrong to these parents? Can you admit that?
You know, the mainstream media is who always takes it, makes it a huge issue, and then says that I'm saying it and gets me to respond. And it's lawyers like you and people that glom onto this for fame that then try to get the fame and then say that I'm the person that's promoting it. And it's obscene, in my view.
It was at this point that Jones shocked Posner's attorney.
Mr. Jones claimed that the reason that he said that Sandy Hook was fake is because he was suffering from a kind of psychosis.
And I myself have, almost had like a form of psychosis back in the past where I basically thought everything was staged, even though I've now learned a lot of times things aren't staged.
Because it wasn't just about Sandy Hook. What he was saying is that there's a psychosis I have, some form of psychosis that makes me believe that every event is staged.
My opinions have been wrong, but they were never wrong consciously.
In other words, for Jones, it's a universal pass.
Some of the Sandy Hook
Under
families,
oath,
they know it's real.
Jones made a reluctant admission.
And so over the years, I've, especially as it became a huge issue, had time to, really retrospectively think about it. And as the whole thing matured, had a chance to believe that children died, and it's a tragedy.
As far as I'm concerned, I've already won. Having Alex Jones admit under oath that Noah did die the way it was reported in his school, that's a victory for me.
Pizzagate is real. Sandy Hook, it's got inside job written all over.
The United States of conspiracy.
Deliberate disinformation. Disinformation is having a devastating effect. Some of the same conspiracy theories that are being circulated.
The story of how Alex Jones helped bring conspiracies into the mainstream began on the fringes of America in the 1990s.
All right, Austin,
He was a late-night access TV personality in Austin, Texas, an obscure voice peddling outrage.
They are trying to make you dysfunctional. They are teaching you false thought systems.
He began as sort of an underground phenomenon.
Society is insane to me, so I am insane to your average dumbbell.
People in Austin would sit home and get high in the middle of the night and watch this crazy guy vent about crazy stuff.
Hillary Clinton is a fascist worker.
Unhinged conspiracy theory rants.
Biological attack is imminent. Imminent.
Political stunts.
They took me into custody and were going to arrest me for disturbing a public meeting.
He was on the fringe.
Because they had nothing.
It used to be that you would have to be somebody who was deep into conspiracy culture to know who Alex Jones was. You'd have to know things about lizard people or teleportation pads, these crazy conspiracy theories.
What about me because I'm a woman? I've got to stay?
British filmmaker John Ronson is a renowned expert on extremism. He has been following Jones for more than 20 years.
He was diagnosed as having narcissistic personality disorder. And I think that's a factor, because I think that people with NPD don't need to care as much about the truth and about society as other people do. I think they consider themselves more important than the truth.
Jones promoted anti-government conspiracy theories in a series of homemade films. He'd also use a growing radio show to allege, without evidence, secret plots in crisis after crisis.
The federal government financed and controlled this attack on the World Trade Center.
The 1993 World Trade Center bombing.
Multiple bombs ripped through the Alfred P. Murrah Federal Building.
The 1995 Oklahoma City bombing.
And as usual, federal fingerprints were all over this tragic event.
He called them false flags.
A big element of Alex Jones's show and his theorizing generally is that things are false flag attacks. That is, attacks perpetrated by the government or elements within the government to create fear, suspicion, division, or to bring us all under the sinister control of the New World Order or the One World Government.
Yes, I have a responsibility to cover it, and yes, it's important.
I mean, he was in high dungeon.
They hurt children, folks.
He's crying, he's weeping, we're like, this is pure evil.
Cover Pizzagate, we have covered it, we are covering it, and all I know is God help us, we're in the hands of pure evil.
And it ran constantly, because it was a ratings getter.
When I think about all the children Hillary Clinton has personally murdered and chopped up and raped.
His profile raised by Trump and Stone, Jones was known as a super spreader, a megaphone for internet lies and misinformation.
I just can't hold back the truth anymore. Hillary Clinton is one of the most vicious serial killers the planet's ever seen.
A match was struck on Alex Jones' show, and it goes from 0 to 100 on Google Trends. 96 hours.
Thousands of emails? I'm not ready to accuse these people of this. It's up to you to research it for yourself, but you got.
Yeah, I mean, Alex would always encourage people, like, I can't do this alone. You know, he'd always encourage people to go out and do those things by themselves.
Some of them took matters into their own hands.
A volunteer firefighter in North Carolina, Edgar Madison Welsh, hears the stories about Pizzagate being promoted by Alex Jones and others, and decides somebody has to do something about it. Somebody has to save these kids.
He's basically making a goodbye video. His two daughters, like in the car on the way driving north on 95.
I can't let you grow up in the world that's set corrupt by evil.
I mean, he believed it.
We understand that one day.
So this guy Welsh, armed with an assault rifle, barges into the restaurant on a Sunday afternoon, fires 2 shots as he goes looking for the mythical basement where the kids are supposedly being trafficked. And of course, never finds it.
Welsh discovered there was no basement, no pedophile ring.
Get on the ground, lay prone on the ground.
Welsh would later tell a New York Times reporter, the intel on this wasn't 100%.
These conspiracies, some may think, well, they're harmless. But then we have somebody who shows up at a pizza establishment with a weapon. I mean, people will act on these things. We will see violence from this sort of stirring up of hatred and division. And the Pizzagate conspiracy theory is Exhibit A.
I'm going to to read to you from a statement that's also posted to Infowars.com that I wrote yesterday.
Under legal threat from the owner of Comet Ping Pong, Alex Jones would eventually retract his Pizzagate claims.
In our commentary about what had become known as Pizzagate, I made comments that in hindsight I regret and for which I apologize to him.
That you would suggest that
few people watch Megyn Kelly's controversial interview with Alex Jones more closely than the notorious conspiracy theorist's ex-wife.
He's a fraud and a fake, and I think that Megyn Kelly really showed that.
Kelly Jones is locked in a bitter custody dispute with her ex over their 3 children.
She did a fantastic job of showing who Alex is and the hypocrite he is and the kind of influence he has.
some thought we shouldn't broadcast this interview.
Megyn Kelly is getting some good reviews today for how she handled the interview.
It's garbage in, garbage out, right? If you haven't ascertained the veracity of that article, and it's all BS, and then you spend 2 hours talking about it, then you put out a bunch of misinformation.
The NBC host had faced intense backlash for her decision to sit down with Jones from the parents of the Sandy Hook massacre. Jones has, in the past, claimed the school shooting in 2012 may have been a hoax.
The parents, one after the other, devastated. The dead bodies that the coroner autopsy.
And they've blocked all that, and they won't release any of it. That's unprecedented.
All of the parents decided to come out and lie about their dead children.
I didn't say
that. What happened to the children?
The grilling left Jones sweating and stammering.
Yeah, I know you're not going to let me get it out, are you?
I'm going to let you get it. I just want to make sure the record's straight because I don't want to smear the man.
He never really fully apologized, even when Megyn asked him directly about Sandy Hook. He never really backed down from any of his claims.
I think it's horrific. I don't even know how he could sleep at night if he was at all apologetic.
Today, Politico gave Megyn Kelly a B+, saying she took Jones apart in a textbook manner. Rolling Stone magazine called it an effective takedown. Despite the positive reaction, the ratings were a disappointment. 3.5 million people tuned in. That's down more than 1 million viewers from last week's show with Erin Andrews. Kelly Jones says the only winner here may be her ex.
Yeah, he looked like a moron, but he loves the hype. Be it good or bad, he adores it.
They rigged an election. They rigged it like they've never rigged an election before. We won in a landslide. This was a landslide. 400,000 ballots appeared from nowhere. We will stop the steal. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and I'll be there with you.
So let's start marching, and I salute you all. USA! 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 You stabbed us in the back one too many times. Coming with truth and justice and non-violent civil disobedience.
For a second, Alex, just take a look behind you. Look behind you. Look at that crowd.
And we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore. Today is not the end. It's just the beginning.
To create yet another crisis, this time to usher in a police state.
Jones's rhetoric resonated with people around the country who were looking for answers.
Conspiracy theory is a theory. It's an attempt to explain an event. And it says that things are not as they seem, right? And you explain it by picking up the dots, forming a pattern, and showing that that pattern indicates malignant intent by powerful people acting covertly.
Then a moment of trauma on live television.
On this Tuesday morning, it's the 11th day of September 2001.
As a confused country watched.
We want to go live right now and show you a picture of the World Trade Center, where I understand, do we have it? No, we do not. We have a breaking story, though. We're going to come back with that in just a moment. First, this is today on NBC.
That day, broadcasting from Texas, Jones would seize on the tragedy.
You want answers? Well, so does he. He's Alex Jones on the GCN Radio Network. And now, live from Austin, Texas,
Alex was immediately on the radio on all of his syndicated shows.
To bring you up to speed on what's happened at 8:50 a.m. EDT, plane hits World Trade Center. 9:30 Eastern, second jet crashes into World Trade Center.
Saying that this attack is an inside job. Yes, the towers fell, but they were not felled by terrorists. They were destroyed by the United States government as a pretext to impose martial law.
Jones and other believers became known as the 9/11 Truther Movement.
Alex became the world's leading 9/11 truther. And actually, everything just got worse and darker. 9/11 conspiracy theorists were sort of vicious and brutal.
They're either using provocateur Arabs and allowing them to do it, or this is full complicity with the federal government. The evidence is overwhelming to bring you up to speed on what's happened.
Even for the radio stations that had hosted Jones over the years, he'd gone too far this time.
What you see after 9/11 is a country that is really, really hurting. People were grieving, where it was a moment where people wouldn't have imagined that you're gonna take that moment, this national moment of mourning, and turn it into a conspiracy theory.
I'll tell you the bottom line. 98% chance this was a government-orchestrated controlled bombing. I've been telling you this was going to happen. Just 2 weeks ago,
Overnight, something like 2/3 of all the Genesis stations dumped him. And it seemed like it was going to be a disaster for his career, and at first it was.
But it was 2001, and Alex Jones quickly found a new outlet, a new way to reach a like-minded audience. The anarchy of the web.
Terrorism is on the way. September 11th was only the latest in a long
For the 9/11 Truther Movement was alive and well.
It was the manipulation of that national tragedy that really opened an eye for Jones about how he could get a hook into his audience.
His website, Infowars.com, became a hub for conspiracy theories.
We all know a conspiracy theorist from the days before Twitter or Facebook. And those people were sort of isolated and shunned, and everybody felt like they had their number. But with social media and the internet, they find each other.
Why the Bush crime family and the CIA.
And they can push that message to millions of people.
You know why the big CFR takeover?
The interesting thing about the internet is that it builds community. You can find people who feed into your negativity or your fears or your bigotry. And so that's what Alex Jones has been able to do. I mean, he's been able to mobilize people based on their fears. For many, their ignorance.
As the tech giants grew, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, Instagram, Google's YouTube, so did Alex Jones.
Information that you would have been very hard to get before. It suddenly became easy.
We're on the right side of history.
He wasn't really my cup of tea. It was young men who liked him because he was wild and he was funny.
Nellies going, kill everybody.
His audience was mostly white men. It became known as Dude Radio. Every week, millions watched his programs.
I mean, it's just like scum, Nazi filth.
And his conspiracy movies. It was the type of controversial content that generated clicks. The more outrageous, the better. The bigger the lie, the more clicks he got. and YouTube's algorithms recommended his videos billions of times.
In the near future, Earth is dominated by a powerful world government.
His films got out to millions and millions and millions of people.
The dawn of a new dark age is upon mankind.
When we put out a film, I remember Endgame, within something like 6 or 7 days, receiving 30 million views. It was ridiculous. I just remember constantly refreshing and it going up by thousands every time I'd refresh.
I'm done, I'm pissed, and I'm not putting up with it anymore.
Alex Jones, America's most notorious conspiracy theorist, responds to being banned by Apple, Facebook, YouTube, and Spotify.
They're hoping you're stupid. They're hoping you believe the fake narratives about us and the lies they've said about us.
Now, his ex-wife Kelly Jones is speaking out exclusively to Inside Edition, predicting this could be the beginning of the end for Alex Jones.
I'm afraid that he's going to be so upset and out of control that it would really become even more dangerous.
On his website, InfoWars, Jones touts what many deem offensive and outrageous claims. He infamously called the Sandy Hook school shooting a hoax, although he later admitted the massacre really did happen.
Sandy Hook is a synthetic, completely fake, with actors, in my view, manufactured.
Several families who lost loved ones at Sandy Hook are suing Jones for defamation.
Alex has clearly said repeatedly that these beautiful children were not real, these deceased children. As a mom, I just can't imagine a worse kind of hell.
Kelly, you know him best. Is Alex Jones really this way all the time, or is this just an act?
I think Alex is worse in real life, Megan, and he's an unhappy, unwell man.
You gotta warn people!
Kelly Jones is locked in a bitter custody dispute with her ex-husband over their 3 children. During their 12 years of marriage, Kelly claims her ex-husband was emotionally abusive.
What Alex has done after I filed for divorce is much more abusive even than what I experienced in the marriage, because he's used litigation to hurt the children, to hurt me.
Last year, a jury awarded Kelly Jones joint custody of their kids, making her home the primary residence. She says she's still waiting for her kids to move home as her ex-husband battles her in court, claiming Kelly mistreated the children and they should live with him. Meantime, Alex Jones is calling on President Trump to help him regain his social media platforms.
We need to call the White House, go to Trump's rallies.
Kelly Jones hopes he's yanked permanently.
He's engaging in racist and hateful speech. He needs to be held accountable.
What we're dealing